We've got some of the BLM folks here. You've met Chelsea. You have Becky Andres. Somewhere I have my socioeconomic person, Julie Sir Pierce. Come on, Julie. You can't hide forever. If you have a question directed towards BLM, if you have a directed question towards BRC. Marnie or Charlie, you want to get up here with me and we take them one by one?
Yep.
Marnie, pick one first.
Well, I would like to start with Mayor Sheeby.
Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I think community engagement is incredibly important. So I do have a few questions. I kind of want to say just a couple of things. This is a good friend of mine, Brian Colpin, with my team and the airport, Reno Tahoe Airport. So, but one of the things is that I'm lucky to represent mayors all across the country on tourism, arts, parks, and entertainment and sports. And while I was in Washington, D.C., we were talking about Burning Man and the culture, and all of a sudden mayors across the country became so engaged in what's happening, and actually what they wanted to learn is what cities are doing right, and they identified Burning Man as a city that is doing things that they can learn from other cities. So it's been, honestly, I brought out a dozen mayors and they learned about infrastructure, pop-up cities, environment, things that are so crucial to cities, not just the culture that we all love about Burning Man, but for me, you know, obviously, I also want to be a resource and to work collaboratively with the BLM because we are the gateway, and I think that's really important. So if there's anything I can do for you or my office, please reach out, because I have found that the Burning Man folks have been so transparent and open and willing to help anytime I've ever needed it. So again, I think that that's really important to have collaboration. But my question would be, you know, the socioeconomic impact if this event didn't take place.
Well, like we point out in the draft EIS, if it didn't take place, we know something would happen out there. How that plays out economically has uncertainties. What wasn't brought up in the BLM's presentation, and what I forgot to add to my list, this no event alternative, it falls under the NEPA regulations as a no action alternative. The NEPA regulations say we have to look at a no action alternative. We have no choice in the matter. Even if it is like the worst decision to make, we still got to look at it. And that's for any federal decision we do where we're doing either an environmental assessment or an environmental impact. Well, sorry, you don't want to.
No, go ahead. Yeah, don't get too close. That's the whole thing now.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Okay, the no event, it is actually a no action alternative. The federal regulations for NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act, require us, any federal agency, to do a no action, and in this case, no event alternative. Even if it is the worst idea there is, we still have to look at it and say this is a bad idea. So, yeah. So that's where that one's coming from.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Let's put it this way. Unofficially, since we're here in a casino, but unofficially, I would say I would not be a betting person for that one. But I'm not being pre-decisional. I'm just saying that's where I'm coming from.
All right. Thank you so much. And like I said,
good to meet you
here,
folks.
nice to meet you too. We're here to help you in any way we can.
Brian
Colpin, just say a few words and maybe a question.
Yeah, the mayor has said that we're the gateway. in Reno and in Sparks. Well, the Reno Tahoe International Airport truly is the gateway for 20,000 burners every year. They come to us from 34 different countries, and they generate $11 million in economic impact just in the airport alone, through the tickets that they buy, through the airlines that they're on, through the rental cars, through the stores, through the restaurants, and it goes on and on. They fill every single seat the airport has on arrival for 3 days before the event, and every single seat for 3 days after the event. It helps us attract air service that all of us enjoy, because if we fill seats, it attracts more airlines overall throughout the year. It's very important to us. It has a huge impact on the airport, and we truly appreciate the impact, even the ply dust that they bring in. To form a question, well, we have that much of an impact at the airport. We'd like to know why we weren't a cooperating agency in the report, because we make that first and last impression.
My understanding is a cooperating agency letter was sent to the city of Reno. It was not responded to within a time frame. The Arts Commission did give us a general response, but the formal legal agreement to be a cooperating agency under NEPA doesn't mean you're not cooperating for the event each year, but the formal legal definition, we never received follow-up paperwork. We sent out to a variety of counties, state, and the like, and in the case of the state, I don't think anybody responded from the clearinghouse request from the state officially. I realize you're city and in the airport.
Did you send it to the right place? Just kidding. Just kidding. No, but my office sent letters directly.
Yes,
So I want to make sure.
And that did get into the scoping process. And I talked to, I forget the woman's name, I told her, I said, it's really great that you're resending me the scoping letter again, but I realize you're busy. By April 29th, can you really give me some comments, even if you only read the abstract? And she says, I'll go bother people. Yeah. And I have her name written down in my notebook in my office, but yes, in that case, you guys are, I'm hoping by 29th, giving me a response. It's a woman in charge of the Arts Committee, whose name I forget. So.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
The Airport Authority does not belong to the City of Reno. We're actually an independent quasi-government agency created to the state legislature. So you can look forward, I hope, to our letter now that you know the facts that I just stated out here. So thank you for your explanation.
I would love to suggest that people with questions line up in the center here so that we can get an idea of what we are looking at, and that we might be able to repeat the question better or invite you to the mic.
Sure.
Great.
I wasn't sure what you meant by this line.
Well, I think this will work. And if you want to speak up, or I can repeat the question, whatever you want to do. You can come to whatever. Usually we have a mic before, so. Okay.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
I'm really nervous.
No. Okay, great. You'll do great.
So I have a question for the BLM reps here. I don't know where to look.
Well, there's a bunch of us here.
All right. Do you think there's anyone present here who is undecided about their preferred alternative?
The whole reason we're having this meeting is you did not get a preferred alternative because we want to hear from the public. That is our intent. And the decision-making team, I'm reading most of the comments right now, but once the report is done, the rest of the decision-making team will be reading that report. So.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah. So would you say there's an advantage to expressing an opinion here that makes that opinion stronger than just submitting them to the website?
Our regulations require for a comment to be considered, whether it is on mitigation, preferred alternative, It needs to be in writing somehow. Whether you want to put it in writing over here tonight, via the website, good old-fashioned postal mail, or email, it just has to be in writing in some way, shape, or form. That's our requirement under the regulations and policy.
Fine. Great. You're doing great.
So if I'm not in the majority of those present, I'm not sure I'd want to raise my concerns publicly because it reveals them. So there might be an advantage to submitting them directly to the BLM. But I will make one point. When I think it's alternative, well, the population stays the same, 80,000. And EIS, and I think some of the speakers and presentations we heard tonight suggested that that would hold negative impact steady. My concern here is that both Washoe County and Lyon County's populations are increasing rapidly. The USA Parkway that now connects US 50 down in Silver Springs up to I-80 has brought a lot of growth to that area. Fernley has exploded since the summer of 2016. And I think to assume that the area's population, well, the assumption that the negative impact at 80K will be the same over the next decade, I think it overlooks the reality, in my opinion, that the surrounding population is going to get denser. So I'll put everything else in my comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why do you have to?
People, look, when you come up, part of the NEPA process is, yeah, you have to sign your name and give us an address. But if you don't want your name and your address made available, should those documents be FOIA'd, we will try to protect your identity. So if you get up here and you ask a question, you don't have to identify yourself. Also, I would like to say something. I've noticed a lot of people live streaming, which that was fine when the bureaus and VRC was up here, but you really need to be considerate for the general public who may not want their picture on your live stream. So try to be considerate.
So can we continue to live stream, but like look at the ceiling so we can hear the voices, but maybe just not have their faces?
Really, under federal rules and regulations, if this was going to be live streamed, we should have announced it. We should have had a dedicated website. We should have had subtitling or something for ADA people and the like. I realize a lot of people.
Should have been a work. Lack of preparation. Public meeting.
Just be considerate, because not everybody wants their name.
Stage, you don't want to be videoed. You don't want to
So.
One question? I'm not telling you that.
Okay, next. And because of time, one question. So, who wants to be next?
I am.
Come on.
What Mark has just announced is that that's the end of questions after this. So if you
No. One question per person.
That's a good clarification.
My name is Ray, by the way. I understand that this draft EIS is not a foregone conclusion and is subject to revision. I have to say that personally I'm a bit dismayed at what I see as a level of partiality in the presentation, primarily by the BLM side. The question I have, as someone who has participated in and helped draft 2 environmental impact statements for both NASA and the Department of Energy, is I have a question about methodologies. And when methodologies are identified as being weak, questionable, outright wrong, I know that I can take those questions and put them into the computer, or I can submit them to the BLM office. What I want to know is, when those things are read, is there going to be an impartial evaluation of the points that people make by someone other than members of your group of the BLM? And if not, why?
Is this your phone, sir?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for your question, Ray. The comments will be compiled by the contractor. The report of those comments will not only be looked at by my team, it'll be looked at a variety of management levels above me, and how we responded to the substantive comments. In terms of the methodology, there's an appendix in volume 2 that explains the methodology should you have a specific question. But thank you for your question. Lest my water bottle end up on the floor, I'm going to move it out of the way.
Yeah, I just noticed in here there's no mention of any unintended consequences. And I see a number of those, some of them positive and some of them negative. For example, some of my background, I've been a BLM volunteer. I am a qualified legal trace instructor. I've been in Nevada for 30 years. This is my state. And one of the things that came up is that as a BLM volunteer, I used to go around every spring and pick up trash all.
That closer to the mic.
Closer to the mic.
I used to run around the playa in all the favorite camping spots and pick up trash left by the late visitors from the year before. Then I'd come back in with 3, 4 big green garbage bags. Since Burning Man started, the last time I did this, I got less than a bucket full. That was an unintended positive consequence of Burning Man. And another one having to do with environment, which is supposedly the environmental